What's up guys, welcome to new Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. Today we are continuing with the GTA 6 tutorial series. In this episode, we will add the rifle locomotion on top, so we can equip and unequip our first weapon. Remember that you have full access to the project files on Patreon or YouTube members. It's going to be a very easy video to follow, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is basically set our map that we created in the previous episode to be the default map. As you can see, I opened up Unreal and it is blank. So let's go up into Edit, Project Settings, and then in Maps and Modes, we are going to go ahead and select the Editor Startup Map to be our one that we created in the previous episode, which is Test under Game Levels. And let's also just set it as the game default map, just in case we export the game just to test in the future, and at least we have a map to open this up. Okay, so with that quick thing done, let's actually begin the episode. So the first thing that we need to do is import the rifle animations. In this case, we are going to be using this free Unreal Marketplace pack. Now, it is even from Epic themselves. So I will be linking it in the description, and just click this button to add it to your Epic Games library. Once it is on your Epic Games library, you can find it on your library vault and you search for a name starter and you will see it here. Just in case you don't see it, just reopen the Epic Games launcher. Alright, so now with that said, we just need to add this to our project. So let's go ahead and click Add to Project, and we have to search for our GTA project. So let's go ahead and search it. Now you see that it will actually not appear, and that's because we are using the newest version 5.3 and the pack doesn't yet support it. But it doesn't matter, we can still say show all projects and then go ahead and select the GTA tutorial series project that we are using, and then we can select the latest version that the pack supports. In this case it is 5.2. Maybe for the future it will be updated to be compatible with 5.3, so in your case it will be great, but if not, do the same that I did, just select the latest version that the pack supports it. And don't worry, Unreal will automatically convert the asset pack to be compatible with 5.3. So let's go ahead and click Add to Project, and now we just need to wait until it will be added to our project, so let's wait a few seconds. As you can see, it has completed, so now if I go back to my Unreal project, we will see it. And there we go, we have a new folder. Great. Okay, so the first thing I did was just open up the level. You can just go to Levels, Open Test Level. And as you can see, we have the player controller that we did in the last episode, which looks absolutely amazing. Okay, so one thing that will happen if we open up the folder of the anime starter pack, which we just imported, as you can see, we have all of these really cool animations. The thing is that if we open, for example, this animation, you will see that it's using the old Unreal Engine 4 mannequin. So what we need to do is convert the animations that we want to be compatible with the new mannequin. So we can do this via retargeting. Now, don't worry, you don't need to understand retargeting for now, but basically it's just converting one animation to be compatible with another skeleton. So let's go and search the animations that we want. So let's type rifle, and you can see that we have a whole different, animations. In this case, the one that we want will be equip rifle standing, so we will go ahead and equip the rifle. Then we want the idle rifle hip, so when we are in idle, and then we will also want the one that is called iron sight, which should be, there we go, idle rifle iron sights, because that's when we're gonna be aiming, okay? And then we also want the last one, which will basically be firing. So if we search for fire, you can see here we have fire rifle iron sights once again, which is when we are aiming. With that said, let's go ahead and right click on any of these animations that are all selected, or only the ones that we want. And let's go up into Retarget Animation Assets, and we have this option to duplicate and retarget animation assets / blueprints. Now as you can see, this window will pop up, and the cool thing is that because we created this with the third person template, we have access to IK retargeters. this will be already created and will do all the job for us on basically selecting the bones of one skeleton and then selecting the other bones of the other skeleton and basically connect them. In this case, we want the RTG UE4 mani to UE5 mani. So you can see from UE4, which is the first skeleton, to UE5, not the other one at the bottom. We want this one, which is from UE4 to UE5. If we select it, you can see the source will be the old Unreal Engine 4 skeleton, but the target will be the new one. And now with that set up, we can just select the folder, so we can go into characters, animations, and right click new folder, and this will be something as just rifle, so it's a bit more organized. So now let's click OK and retarget. As you can see, boom, there we go, we have this new animations in our rifle folder, and of course now they're using the new mannequin for Unreal Engine 5. So that's great. Now we have all of the animations that we need and want. Okay, so now what we need to do is create the new rifle Locomotion. But first of all, let me go ahead and rename this for animations. So for the first one, it will be just equip underscore rifle. It will just make it simple to read. Then fire rifle RN size, this is for aiming. So let's rename this to be actually this is for shooting, so just fire rifle. Then for the idle rifle hip, this will just be idle underscore rifle. And then for the idle rifle RN size, this is for aiming, so it will just be idle underscore rifle underscore aiming. Alright, so now let's go back to the root animations folder, and we have to open up our animation blueprint that we built in the last episode. But let me just organize this a bit. Let's create a new folder, which will be called Locomotion. And let's drag everything except our first, animation blueprint, and drag and move here. And I actually spell it incorrectly. Locomotion. There we go. Okay, so let's open up our, animation blueprint. As you can see, it is what we did in the last episode. We have the main locomotion, the control rate with the head rotation, and then the output pose. So what we need to do is basically create another locomotion state machine, but for our rifle, and it will be exactly the same as this. So what we can do is just right click and duplicate, and then we can select this and just rename it to something as rifle locomotion. And let's go ahead and double click on this rifle locomotion. So first of all, for idle, let's find our rifle idle, which is idle rifle, and what we can do is just drag it on top of our existing node to change it. As you can see, now it is the idle rifle. Make sure to select it and ensure that loop animation is ticked. This is very important. Okay, so now with that said, we can go back and we are going to be entering in our wog/jog. And as you can see, we had this blend space for the idle jog blend space, but now we need to do a new one for our rifle. So let's go into our rifle folder, right click, go into animation, go down into legacy, and create a new blend space 1D, just as we did in the last episode. Then once again, let's select the SK mannequin skeleton, and let's rename this to be the rifle blend space. As simple as that. Let's open this up, and as you may remember, we have to basically change the horizontal axis parameters. So in this case, it will be speed, minimum is 0, and maximum it was 500. Alright, so now let's search for our rifle idle once again. So idle rifle, all to the left when the speed is 0. And then we need the rifle jogging, which we actually didn't get. So let's quickly, retarget that. So let's go to anim starter pack, search for rifle jog. And as you can see, we have this one for going forward. Right click, retarget, duplicate and retarget. And once again, let's select the IK retargeter to be from UE4 to UE5, which is the one that we used before. And now let's select the folder, which should be under characters, animations, rifle, okay, retarget. And there we go. Here it is. So now we can go back to our blend space, and there we go. Here it is. Jog, drag it to the right. And now if we hold control over our timeline, we can see how it would change as the speed increases. So that's great. We can close this, and now in the animation blueprint, in the rifle locomotion walk jog state, we can drag in our new blank space, and the same thing, we can drag it on top of the node to replace it. Alright, so now with that said, we have that, configured except for the stop. But we don't have a stop rifle animation. So how we will do this? Well, don't worry, we'll do that in a second. But first of all, let's check this out by just connecting the rifle to the control rig. And now as you can see, we have the animations working and it looks very cool. But of course, except for when we stop. So what we're going to do is make a really cool thing, which is gonna be a layered blend per bone. So if we enter in the rifle locomotion, go to stop, what we're going to do is get the rifle idle animation, which is this one, and make sure that looping is on. And I'm gonna use this node, which is the layered blend per bone. And what we can do here is split the body in half. So half of the body will be with the normal stop animation, and the other half will have the basically rifle idle. So for the base pose, it has to be actually the other way around. So it has to be the stop, which is the main one, and then the idle rifle will be the one which is on top, so in the second pin. Now let's connect this, and we just need to select it. Now on layer setup, expand this and add a new item, and we have to specify on which bone we want to split. In this case, we can click this skeleton icon, and then I will just pick spine 2, which will kind of split the body in here. So let's get the name. This has to be exactly the same name, so make sure to copy it just in case. Paste it, and now as you can see, when I stop, we still have the rifle hold it. So that's great, very cool. Alright, so now with that said, we just need to make sure to choose when we want to play the locomotion and use the rifle locomotion. So how do we do this? Well, we have to create another state machine, and we will place our other state machines inside. So let's see how we can do that. So to do this, let's right click, create a new state machine, and we are going to be calling this main, as our main locomotion and all the states will go inside. So if we now open this up, you can see that it's empty. So let's add the first state, which will be our basic locomotion, and it will just be called locomotion. And that's basically when we are unarmed. So the default one that we created in the previous episode will go here. And then let's right click, add another state, and this will be the rifle locomotion. And now what we want to do is basically transition between these two states. But first of all, they are empty. And do we need to plug in all of what we did on the other states back again? Well, no, there's a very cool thing that we can do. So let's go back to the name graph, which is just, go into the output pose and everything. And we have our main here. First of all, let's connect to the main and put both of these up here, because now we want to basically be playing the main. And what we're going to do is save both of these state machines into a cache pose. So first of all, let's get the first locomotion. So let's put it on top, drag it, and create a new cache pose. If we now select this, we can call it something, which will just be locomotion. And now this will be saved in a little variable. So imagine that this is a little variable and it is containing all of the state machine for locomotion. Let's do the same for the rifle locomotion. Let's just name it exactly the same. And now imagine that we have another variable with all these state machines saved. Now we can go into the main state machine, go into the locomotion state, and just use the locomotion cache pose. And there we go. It's like we're dragging in our variable to use it here. And we don't have to plug in the whole thing once again, all these states and everything. Let's do the same with the rifle. We can just use the rifle locomotion, and there we go. It's like we're dragging in the whole state machine, but it's just in a variable or in a function. There we go, cool. So now we need to make the transitions. Well, in this case, drag it like this and drag it like this. And basically the first one, it will be if we have the rifle equipped. So let's create a new variable, and this will be rifle equipped. So let me just put this like this, rifle equipped. Double click on this arrow from locomotion to rifle locomotion, and this will be if rifle is equipped, we'll go. But let's go into the other one. In this case, it will be if it is not boolean, so it is not true. If it's not true, we'll go back. And now, as simple as that. As you can see now, right now the animation locomotion is unarmed. But if I enable this, you can see that now it goes to the rifle locomotion. So it's working. Now make sure to disable it by default. But we need to do one last thing, which is to add the equip animation, right? Because, well, it will be nice to kind of have the equip animation as we go. So this is going to be the same kind of logic that we used for our stop animation. So let's add a new state here, and this will be called just equip rifle, and then just delete the other transition, and this will be here. Now for the one from rifle to locomotion, this will be once again the automatic rule based on sequence as in the last episode. So as soon as the rifle equipping animation is finished, it will transition. But for our locomotion to equip the rifle, it will be, well, if we have the rifle equipped, just as the one that we deleted. And now that should be good. So now we should be able to go ahead and, equip our rifle, and also go ahead and go back and equip it. So to test this, what we are going to do is create a little shortcut in our keyboard so we can do this. But first of all, we can preview this by just going here. You can see it is broken, and why? Well, that's because in the equip rifle we didn't apply animation. So let's just get the equip rifle, drag it, and there we go. And of course, this does not need to have loop animation because it will just play once. Now once again, I can test this out, and boom, it will play the equip animation. Drag it, and there we go, and then unequip, boom, there we go. Cool, nice and easy. So let's go ahead and create a little input action so we can equip and unequip our rifle. And this of course will be kind of temporary just to test. So let's go to the input folder, right click, new input action, IA underscore, and this will be like equip rifle. And now we don't have to touch anything, as the value type by default is bool, which is good because it will be on or off. Okay, so cool. Alright, so now what we can do is go and open up our player blueprint, and we can go down to the logic that we built in the last episode and do the IA underscore equip rifle. So when it is beginning to be pressed, we don't want this to be untriggered because it will be like triggering while it is holded, and we don't want that. We want it only when it's starting to be holded, and it's basically to enable this. So what we're going to do is create a new variable, and this will be rifle equipped, and we're going to be going ahead and setting it to be true. And then this will basically be a flip-flop, so every time that we press it, it will be different. So we can just put this to be on A and B, and if it's A, it will go ahead and set it. So on this time, the first time it will go to A, and if it's A, it will set it to true. The second time it will go to B, it isn't B, so it will set it to false. So we can turn it on and off like this very easily. Anyway, so now we just need to get this variable and fill it into here. And once again, we'll do this with the event graph. We already have a reference to the player character blueprint, so we just need to go after all of this and apply it. But to make things a bit more organized, what I am going to do is just add a little sequence here, so I can add another pin and go down and just set the rifle equipped. And it is a bit more organized because one sequence go here and another one goes here. And in this case, this will be from the player character blueprint. I'll just get the rifle variable that we just created, and I can just drag it in, and there we go. So now if we test this, we can play it. But of course, the input action hasn't been applied into any, key. So let's add it to our collection. Very important. So let's add a new mapping. Let's just close all the other ones, select the equip rifle, and then we can just click this button as a shortcut and press 1 in our keyboard. For example, just to test, I don't know, Q. Okay, so we press Q, I will be able to, there we go, equip the rifle, and I can walk with a blank space and everything, and then press Q and go back to normal, which is working great. Cool, so everything right now, it is working. We're nearly finished. But let's make one last thing, which is going to be adding the weapon rifle model itself. So let's go ahead and do that. So once again, we are going to be using the Unreal Marketplace to get these assets. So I'll be linking this amazing weapon bundle asset pack, which is totally free, in the description, and just go ahead and once again add it to your Epic Games library. So then in the Epic Games library, you see it once again, like we did with the anime starter pack. Just restart the Epic Games launcher if you don't see it and click add to project. Then you will see that we don't have any compatible project, and that's the same reason that happened with the anime starter pack. The asset version is older, but doesn't matter. We can just search for our GTA series project, okay, and just show all projects, and then we can find it, which it is tutorial_series. There we go, selected, and you select the latest version, which is 4.27. I don't know that it is a very old version considering we are already in 5.3, but it doesn't matter. It will convert it and it will be totally fine. So just click add to project, and now we just need to wait a few seconds, and Unreal will make sure that it is compatible with our Unreal Engine version. So let's go ahead and do that. As you can see, it has already added and imported to the project. So if I go back to Unreal, we can see that we have a brand new folder, which is the FPS weapon bundle. And well, in here we have basically all of our weapons with our meshes, and we can go into the, for example, the AR4, and you can see it here, which looks absolutely amazing. It is so cool. And let's go ahead and add this gun. But first of all, let's rename it. So let's just rename it to, honestly, just weapons. So it's a bit clearer for us that this is the weapons folder, and now because this was kind of an asset pack, it will appear as it is renaming the assets. Don't worry, it will just do its job, okay? And we'll have a better name, as you can see, which will just be weapons. Now it did go ahead and duplicate the assets. And why did that happen? Well, just Unreal Engine things. But now this is completely empty, so we can just go and delete this other folder. And you can see that it doesn't delete. And why is this happening? Well, basically that's because Unreal kind of needs to reload the kind of the folders. So a quick way that we can do this is just by going ahead and deleting the folder from the file explorer. Okay, it's an easy way, a quick way that we can just get rid of this folder. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, let's just right click, go into show in explorer, and then we're gonna go into content and make sure that this doesn't have anything. As you can see, it is completely empty. So go back to content, select this, press shift delete, there we go, and boom, the folder is gone. As you can see, now we don't have it, and we just have weapons, which is way better and I guess neater, right? Which is good. Okay, cool. So now with that said, what we need to do is go ahead and add this weapon to our player character. So let's go ahead and do that. So we need to basically hand place it in our character's hands. So what we need to do is go to the characters folder, go to mannequins, meshes, and open up the SK mannequin skeleton. There we go. As we're using many, let's go ahead and change the preview mesh to be many simple, just so it matches a bit better the one that we're using. And then what we need to do is create a new socket. So let's find the right hand. But first of all, let's preview the idle animation so we can perfectly place it. So let's go ahead and search for rifle in preview animation, and we can see that we have the idle rifle. Let's select it, pause it, and you can see that we have it here. So we want to anchor it to this right hand. So in the hierarchy, we can go down until we see hand underscore R. Just right click on that and create a new socket. Now this has created a new socket, and we can name this whatever we want. In this case, it will be something as hand underscore R underscore rifle. And now we can just right click on this new socket, add a preview asset, and this will be our AR4, I think it was called. There we go, here it is. Now we have two options, a static mesh or a skeleton mesh. In this case, we want the skeleton mesh because it will contain another socket inside of this mesh, which will have the muzzle flash position, which we'll use it later on in the series. So let's select the SKAR4_X, the skeleton mesh, and there we go, it is here. So let's go ahead and just rotate this and just place it, you know, so it will look nice. So this is just honestly spending a bit of time to just, you know, manage to make it look nice. So make sure to play around with the, you know, snapping here, and you can change between this rotation and, you know, placing tools with E and W. So I just want to kind of find a good position to place the weapon rifle, and it doesn't need to be exact, okay, but you know, the more accurate we get, the better it will look. So I think that for me this will look pretty good, honestly. Maybe I can disable it a bit and rotate it slightly bit up so it's not going through my hand. But you can spend a bit more time to get it how you like, but this looks pretty good for me. And you can see that if I select the socket, you can see my location and rotation. So if you want to have my placement, just copy and paste those values. Alright, so now we have this socket with the weapon, but if we press play, you can see that it doesn't appear. Why? Well, that's because we only created the socket. This is a preview model just for our skeleton mesh to edit it. So we basically need to add a skeleton mesh in our blueprint and attach it to this hand socket. So let's go to the content folder, blueprints, open up BP player, viewport, and now if we select our mesh, we can add a new, once again remember, skeleton mesh, not static mesh. This is a skeleton mesh, and this will be our rifle. So now we can find our rifle model, which was the SK_AR4X, and now we want to attach it to the socket. So we can go to the socket section, parent socket, and search for our rifle one, which is this. And there we go, it will be perfectly placed, as you can see, looking really cool. So if we go down, make sure that the collision preset is set as no collision because our rifle doesn't want to be impacting with our own player. Okay, so now we press play, as you can see, we have it in our hands, and we can move around. And if I press Q, it will, you know, equip the rifle properly, and we have it in hand, looking absolutely amazing. Look how cool this looks. And let's make sure that, you know, we will only go ahead and enable it when we have it on. So by default, it will actually be not visible. So let's disable the visibility, go to the event graph, and then on here, we are going to get the rifle and you set the visibility to what will be here to is A. So if it's A, will be true. If it's B, it will be false, so we'll deactivate it. So now if I press play, I don't have it. I press Q and we now have it, and then press Q again, I don't have it. Now I know that the rifle appears before our hand goes to the back, but don't worry about that. For now, this is a temporary equipment. We'll have a proper equipment system later on for all of our weapons. So this is kind of just for now, but it looks absolutely amazing. So that's pretty much it. So that's it, guys. If you found this tutorial helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to my channel. Remember, they have access to all of the project files through Patreon and YouTube members. Join my Discord server to share your progress on the series and talk with me and to other developers. Check out my new course with Game Dev TV on how to make a stealth game in Unreal Engine. Follow me on my socials. And now, yes, with all that said, bye bye.